one of the things that I found over the years is a definite move towards getting people into boardrooms who speak the language of the boardroom.
Right.
And frequently that ostracizes members of the IT community because they don't have, coming back to what I said earlier, what Adam corroborated around the soft skill set, being able to translate from one to the other, this business IT linguist title, so to speak. I would argue it's not might be a new title, but it's certainly not a new requirement.
Yes.
And I think that the challenge for a lot of people in the IT profession is that IT has become so commoditized now in terms of a service or even as a product that actually it's no longer the be-all and the end-all of why that IT project, inverted commas, exists. IT is often there as a delivery mechanism to get X business outcome delivered, rather than, we must have this shiny new piece of kit because it's the latest thing on the cover of Stuff magazine. So there's a lot to be said to emphasise this point, that every technologist, every IT person, whatever team position they have around the globe, and come back to the point you were making earlier, Adam, needs to be comfortable with the IT people. Take a word out of your words there, Brian, about the IT geek community, which I think is slightly unfair, but that's, we go by the monikers of the past, through to being able to deliver in coherent English or another language to the boardroom.
We hear a lot about the emerging role of digital leader. How does the digital leader differ from the CIO? I just wonder if that relates to getting messages up to the board. Yeah. Anyone got a thought on that?
Yeah, so I think I think that the fact that there's been a growth in sort of digital leadership may well point to a failure within the IT community to be able to layer that communication piece. I don't think we've been able to fully, well, certainly converse in terms that the business understands with regards to what are the benefits, what are the outcomes that we're looking for. And I think a little bit that is down to the duality of IT. So either you are good at delivering, enabling someone else's strategy, okay, sort of keeping the lights on type stuff, or you actually engage in changing strategy, changing business models, working out how the organisation is going to grow in the future. And for me, that's absolutely key. I think eventually CIOs and digital leaders will converge when it's a bit more mature, but it's more mature than it is now currently. In some places that's okay, that can happen, but in others they're lagging quite a long way behind. And I think that's down to the duality. I think it's making that transition from, we'll keep the lights on and sort of enable someone else's strategy, through to changing it. And I think sometimes that's what's going to be, again, different in the future, is that in the past, I think the only way to get to the top seat, and I'm not suggesting everyone comes into a new organisation and plots a route to chief executive. I mean, maybe some do, I don't know, but that's quite a long-term game. But I think in the past we used to say to get there, more often than not, finance is probably the way that you were going to go. But I don't think that's true. I think technology is going to drive change in organisations and open up new markets. You've seen disruption in markets that are really, really mature, like Visa and MasterCard, essentially sort of 50% market split, and then PayPal happens, and then PayPal gets disrupted. So I think new technologies are going to drive paradigm shifts in new sectors, in different sectors. And if you're in front of the technology curve, opportunity, and if you're behind the technology curve, threat. And that's transformative across anything. If you're in marketing, why imagine what your customers might be thinking when you can just ask them and get information back in real time? You can test the product, try it out, see if it works. You can build stuff, break stuff really quite quickly if you get all that stuff right. So I think the digital leadership is almost a response, perhaps, in some areas where we haven't been communicating well enough, actually. What is the benefit? Not, I can do this, and if I change these variables, this happens. But what is the organisation trying to achieve, and what can I do to, again, at the point at the top, to add value to that goal? Okay. And that's what great IT is about, I think.
So, but you were talking about viewing the CIO as an outward-looking role.
Indeed. I think that there's been a misconception over the past maybe even 10 years, as long as that every CIO sits at board level. And if you look at the FTSE 100, FTSE 250, even amongst large government departments, oftentimes the CIO is not at the board, and not even one rung below the board. The CIO often reports into the CFO, back to your finance point, or to the chief operations, or another, sometimes even the chief executive. And that's not denigrating the role of the CIO. It's the point that a lot of organisations believe the CIO to have a functionality role around delivering the desktop client to the organisation. automation, making sure the mail server works, etc., etc. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever, and that's a very important, very valuable role, but it isn't a board level responsibility. And this point on digital leadership, that absolutely is a board level responsibility, and every chief executive or permanent secretary in government or similar accounting officer type role, no matter what the sector of industry or government or third sector is to recognise that digital leadership piece is recognising the workplace has changed dramatically in the last half century, and now you cannot get ahead as a modern company or modern organisation unless you fully embrace technology, unless you fully embrace the change that brings to the workplace. And
Because
so
that's how your customers want to talk to you.
Exactly. So you have an iPad there in front of you, or you've got Twitter running there. There are many organisations for whom that would be a complete anathema. The idea of having Twitter actually shape a conversation being broadcast live and so on, when you have no idea what's going to appear in front of you. For some of the organisations that I work with, even having Twitter in the workplace is an anathema, let alone having it as on the cusp of things as you have there.
I think that we in the IT industry spend a lot of time talking about CIO, should it be board level, should it be this. In reality, in business, they should be where they're recognised as being needed. And if it is the guy that's just keeping the service running, then actually that's not a board level position. But if it's someone who is a key, the key point of that business to make it happen, like maybe the BBC where you live digitally now, then of course that person has to be at the board level. So it's horses for courses, really, I think. And
with club card and data mining, that was an important facet
Indeed,
of making it the company that it is today. So I think and that's getting back to the duality. You've got some bits, these are tools that are going to enable you to do your stuff, or we're going to transform our business because I can see that we are reward limited. We're not going to exist very much longer unless we embrace technology, because we don't understand how we talk with our clients. We don't know how we can get talent into our organisation, because it's not a workplace environment that the best talent and the brightest talent wants to come and participate in, because it
Indeed.
feels too old-fashioned.